became pregnant when I was 20. I had a secret boyfriend, so I thought it were his. And I knew as soon as my son was born that he weren't my boyfriend's. We had to have all DNA done, and it came back that both my sons were his. I'm Mandy, and I was raped by my father, resulting in me giving birth to 2 children of his when I was 11. That's when it first started, so that's when I was aware that it was starting. I was in the bath, it was Sunday night. You know, we all have Sunday night bath before school. And he came in and he says, "Oh, you've got me wet," and he says, "Splashing, you've got me wet, I'll have to take all my clothes off." And I couldn't understand why I'd got him wet. I weren't even splashing, you know, I was just sat there. And he got in the bath with me. Took his clothes off, got in the bath, and touched me. And then he did what he had to do with himself. Well, I just couldn't understand what had happened, you know. There were all this stuff on bath and I just, you know, on top of water. And I just couldn't understand, so I just carried on in bath and just ignored it. So I just didn't understand. I just thought it's what dads did. I was always like a daddy's girl, so wherever he went, I had to go. It wasn't that I wanted to be a daddy's girl, it was, you know, I was forced to be a daddy's girl. My father was, I even hate saying that word, I don't normally call him that. He was a member of the Salvation Army. He'd played in the band. He was everybody looked up to him. He was special constable. He told everybody, well, he told me he worked on the Ripper case. He was the upstanding member of community when he was outside. My mum, she worked nights or she'd be out. And so he had easy rain then, didn't he? So it were like every other night up until I left. In one house, I had to share a bedroom with him because there weren't enough bedrooms. So instead of sharing with my sisters, I had to share with him. So he, again, you know, it were easy for him. He'd make me watch pornographic, really hardcore pornographic videos as well. My mum would go to bed early because she were on tablets, sleeping tablets, so she'd have to go to bed early. So he'd make me sit and watch these videos and make me sit on his knee while he abused me. When he were abusing me, I used to have some curtains with flowers on, and I counted them, and I think there were 625 flowers. And I had like a pattern carpet as well, and with my finger I'd go over the patterns, and by the time I'd done the patterns and counted, he'd finished doing what I needed to do. Well, I just, as a child, the impact, I just got on with my life. Just I had my 2 younger sisters to think about, so he did what he had to do, and as long as he were doing it to me, he weren't doing it to them, so I were quiet. He knew I'd never tell because I was too scared. When you go to secondary school, you realise this isn't dad's what do, this is what boyfriends do, and it's wrong. Never challenged him, no, I was too scared. He saw it as a relationship. I was his girlfriend who wanted to run away with me. I used to, if I'd seen magazines with things in, I'd leave them hanging about and he'd just go, he'd see it, you know, the headline, "My dad's a paedophile," and he'd just go, "I'm not one of them, I love you. You know, I'm not a paedophile, I'm your dad." I became pregnant when I was 20. I had a secret boyfriend, so I thought it were his. And I knew as soon as my son was born that he weren't my boyfriend's. We didn't come home from hospital straight away with my son because obviously we're poorly. So he was up in special care for a bit. My son had a condition called recessive syndrome of the joints with learning difficulties and epilepsy, and we knew, but we went to a doctor in genetics and she said it was because of his DNA. I stayed in special care with my son for about a month and then I came home, so about 6 weeks. The abuse carried on from me giving birth. I was never allowed to bond with him. They just took over. It weren't until he came to live with me, because obviously he went into foster care when I left, that I eventually bonded with him. I became pregnant 2.5 years after I had my first child, but I never told anybody. I was gonna leave him somewhere safe. I was gonna just give birth, leave him somewhere safe, and then come home. But my mother found out. When my second son was 6 months old, I had a boyfriend, a secret one again, and he decided I'd had enough. I left my first son and took my second son and got on a train and went to Leeds and stayed in a bed and breakfast. I stayed there. Well, we ended up living, me and Pete, my husband now, we ended up living there. And then I reported him to police. I reported him to police then. The first time I reported him was before I'd had my children, and they didn't believe me because he was a special constable as well. I got done for wasting police time and put in a prison cell, in a jail cell. And so the second time he was arrested, and we had to have all DNA done, and it came back that both my sons were his. And he pled guilty for incest. I hate that word because I was 11 years old. I wasn't in a relationship with nobody. He went to jail for 3 years. Served 18 months and came out of prison and got on with his life. My first son is back with us. He's always lived with me. He's nearly 40, he lives at home with us. My other son, I don't know, I haven't spoken to him in a long time, I don't know. Speaking out has given me a voice that I never had, and it's made me feel stronger, and I've got the power. He's always had the power, but that power I took back. But I wasn't the person I am today. I was timid, I was quiet, I wouldn't speak to anybody. I was a prisoner. If I ever saw my father, or if he ever came up to me, because I see him, I wouldn't speak to him. Even to say I hate you would be wasting my breath on him. I'd just try and walk away, but he scares me that much. I wouldn't speak to him, I wouldn't do no. It was my normal back then, but it's not my normal now.